So now you've created a basic ball game, but as you can see, it's not very exciting. You probably want a bit more challenge to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bad ball. And basically what happens is when you click on it, instead of adding 1 to the score, I'm going to subtract 1 from the lives that you may have. So maybe I'll set you up with 3 lives, and if you click on it 3 times, basically it's game over. So this is what I can do. Create a sprite. I'm going to call it bad ball. Now I'm going to load this sprite, Bieber one. And then I'm going to create an object, and I'm going to call it bad ball, and I'm going to select that bad sprite, and so on. So far so good. This stuff already covered so far. So bad ball, I'm going to put it in, and as you know, it's not going to do anything at the moment. So what I wanted to do is exactly the same as the ball, except subtract 1 from the lives. So again, if I go here, add event, when it's created, what do I want it to do? Move around at probably the same speed as the other ball. You can change that later if you want. If you want to ever increase the speed or decrease it, you can just change it there. And I want it, when it goes and touches the wall, I want it to bounce off it. You could also add an event where if it collides with the ball, then it'll bounce off too. It's really up to you. But lastly, I want to do what happens if I click on it with my left mouse button. When I click on it, I basically want the bad ball to jump to another random position again. And another thing I wanted to do is subtract 1 from the lives. So just like you set the score by 1, you can actually set lives. And I want to set lives by -1 relative. Because remember what we said before, if you don't tick relative, it's always going to say -1. Now that's all fine, but the problem is I haven't actually set the lives to anything. So where can I do that? Where can I set the lives to, like, say 3, for example? The best thing to do is to create another object, and let's just call it setup. Now this is how you want to set up all of the things, like the original score, which is going to be 0, original lives is going to be maybe 3. And so what we're going to do, add a new object setup where when it's created, I want to do a couple of things. I want to set the score to 0, so this is like the starting score. I want to set the lives to like maybe 3, so that when it'll go down. And lastly, what I want to do is something where it's showing the score caption. What that means is by default it will only show the score, but it won't show the lives and it won't show the health. What I wanted to do is actually show the lives as well. Now this caption tells you what's going to appear in front of the number. So it might say score or what the score is. This will say lives followed by whatever the lives is. You can change this to what you want. You can say balls clicked, and I can say Bieber's clicked. Oh, that actually doesn't make sense because I'm losing lives. Times her. No, I'll just leave lives. Okay. So, and last I need to actually put this object, this invisible object, because I haven't put a sprite to it, into the game. Now you can see it looks like a blue circle or question mark, but that's a sign that it's invisible. It actually won't appear in the game, like physically, but you'll see it. I mean, that didn't make any sense. You won't see it, but it will physically be in the game. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll show you how it works. Let's play. And you can see balls click 0, lives 3. So the balls click is the score, and the lives is the lives. So I'm clicking that Justin Bieber heads, and you can see that's great. But notice that the lives go down to -4, -5. It's not actually stopping the game. What you want to actually do is design the game so that when the lives equal 0, it's game over. And now luckily there is a really cool thing you can do in the setup object, which basically is called other, no more lives. So what will detect is that when there's no more lives, what do you want it to do? I want it to display a message saying you'll get Bieber wins. And then I want to restart the game. Now this hits over here. Now let's see what happens. So you did. Oops, exactly that 3 times, and it restarts the game. Okay. So that's basically what you wanted to do for now. So lastly, what you want to do is finally have it where that if you click on the balls, say 10 times, the score goes up by 10. Once you reach that, go to another level, which may be a little harder, and so forth. Now remember, each level is a different room. Now what you can do is you can go right click, create room, and again I'm going to call it level 2. This is the room that I'm going to go to once I click the ball 10 times. And instead of background, maybe different color to that, maybe set the snap again to 32 by 32, just like the last time. And I'm going to set the wall object by dragging, holding down shift and dragging. And I'm going to add a little more features to the room just to make it a little more tricky, because it's level 2. Put some balls in, but I'm going to add more of the bad balls, so it's harder to dodge. Alright, fine, so that's fine. If you ever see this, it basically means that I've actually put some of these objects outside of the screen. So you basically put it outside the room. Do you want to remove them? Yeah, I do, because I don't want any rooms I don't want. So I'm just closing these up. Now, that's fine, but what I need to do is I need to set up the game so that when I click the ball 10 times, move to the next room, or next level. So what I do is in the level 1 room, I need to create a new object. I'm going to call it level 1. Check. And what this will do is check the score to see it's reached over 10. And if it's over 10, we go to the next room. Now there's an event here which is called step. And what step does, it basically says whatever actions appear here, it's gonna repeat it, several times a second, up to 30. And it's great for things like checking the condition of the score and the lives and the health and that sort of stuff. The condition of the game, basically. Because it doesn't need anything to trigger it. You don't have to collide with anything, you don't have to create anything, you don't have to press anything. It will run automatically as long as this object is in the game, in the actual room. So here, what I want to do is I want to test the score to see what the score is. And if the score happens to be over 10, move to the next room. So you can see you got set score, which you normally put in if you want to add or remove scores and lives. But yeah, here you can see it's a little hexagon shape. It's a little purple. These allow you to test things like test score, test lives, test health. You can control. It's got a whole bunch of tests, and these things will come in handy later on in the other games. But in this case, what I want to do is test what the score is. So let's test if the score happens to be equal to 10. If the score is equal to 10, move to the next room. But actually, here's a little tip. Just for good programming, it's always better to do something like, let's say if the score is larger than 9. So, because what might happen is you might click on 2 balls at the same time, and what could happen to the scores will jump from 9 to 11. But what you want it to do is, when you want it to reach 10 and above, it will move to the next level. If you don't do this, if you accidentally skip and jump straight to 11, you'll be stuck in this level forever, because it's never going to reach 10. It's always going to be like 9, 11, 12, 13, 15. You skip 10. So I'm going to say if the score is larger than 9, I want it to go to the next room. Now another good programming tip is to use these things called blocks, because I'm going to drag the start block and end block. What basically means is whatever you're testing, if it's true, then everything in here should be run. So you can put like 10,000 actions in there, and it will only run that sort of code. It won't run anything else outside it if this is true. If it's not true, it will ignore it and run anything else afterwards or before. Okay, so it's just good programming behavior. behavior. So what I wanted to do when it scores like 9, I wanted to move to the next room. Maybe put a transition effect where it gets pushed from above. From the bottom. Alright. And I actually need to put this in the game. Okay. So let's see what happens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And ta-da! Takes you to the next room. Now the problem is, level 2, yeah, okay, we got less balls, we got more Bieber heads, but basically there's nothing finishing the game. So I need something to actually end the game with. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to create another object called level 2 check. Let's close this room, open up level 2, and I'm going to create a level 2 check. Don't sprite again, and I'm going to do another step effect. So it's going to be similar to the level 1, because in level 1 check, you can see if the score is larger than 9, go to the next room. What I wanted to do instead is that when I reach a score of say greater than 20, because we still keep track of the score, when I get over 20, then the game's end, and you restart the game. So you can have a display screen, or you can have a message come up, or show high score, whatever. Let's have it so that test score, make it, if it's larger than 19, then I want to put these little things in. I basically wanted to say something like, well done, you won. And then I'm going to have the game restart itself, because I don't know what else to do after that. So that should be fine, and I need to put this level 2 check object in this room. By the way, if you get annoyed with these grids, you can actually turn them off by clicking this button. Grid goes on, grid goes off. Okay, just to see what's going. So let's see what happens when I actually cut the game. So it's going to take a while. I should have done maybe 5 to make it faster, but okay. 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18. Yay! Okay. There you go. Now, that should be fine for now. Okay, let's finish up the game by just pimping it out a little bit. So what I want to do is create these heads that revolve around. I just want it to just sit there and look pretty. I want to actually make it spin around, so it's more cool. I also want to create like a start menu, like a sort of a startup screen, and maybe an ending screen. Actually, I won't need the end screen. I'll just create the start screen. So what I'm saying, what I do is I go to the Bieber head, and I can, instead of loading a sprite, he's already there. What I want to do is edit him. So I'm going to edit the sprite, and now there's something up here you notice called animation, and you can do things. You can colorize it, so I can change the color of Bieber if I want to. But what I want to do is I want to rotate him, and there's rotation circuits. You can make it go clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm just going to make it clockwise. It's going to say how many degrees you want it to rotate. I want to do the full rotation, 360 degrees. How many frames? Well, in Game Maker, an animation will run at basically 30 frames a second. So what you want to do is have it long enough. I'm going to set it to like 16 frames. And you can see it'll automatically create 16 images or frames, each have a different sort of rotation. You can see by ticking the preview button, that checkbox here to see what's happening. So that looks good. That's what I want. Now what I want to do is create a starting screen. So I create a new room, and I'm going to call it, in the settings, start. It's kind of bland, isn't it? There's nothing in there. That's alright. We'll go back to that in a second. What's also important is the room order. You can see that I've got level 1, level 2, and then start. What that means is if I play the game, it's going to go straight to level 1. I want to move the start one into the first room. So what I do is I click and drag it. So it goes start, level 1 to level 2. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this code. See how with the setup code in the room 1, in level 1, I'm going to right mouse click to remove it and close that. And I want to put that object up in here. Okay. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to do things like maybe set up some song to start with, and if I click on any key, press any key, it will start the game. So let's go to my setup code. Okay. First of all, I want to play some music. Now you could load up any song you want. So I'm going to create a sound. I'm going to load the sound, and I'm going to find a song somewhere. I'm going to find a song. I don't have any music at the moment, so I'm just going to use this drum loop because that's all I've got. You can put any song you like, but let's just play that song. It's created. I didn't name it. Yeah, let's try this again. So I create a sound and I call it start music. I'm going to load drum loop because that's all I've got for now, and I'm going to play that in here. I'm not going to make it loop because I just want to play once. Okay, so that's fine. What I need to do now is actually create a button, event that allows me to, when I click anything, press anything, it will go to the next room. So on keyboard, any key, go to next room. Transition effect, maybe from bottom. You can see how that works. So I've got the setup object here. If I press play, this is what happens. Okay, so the drum loop is played. There's nothing on the screen. I didn't put any graphic in there, but if I press any key on the keyboard, I'm just going to spacebar. You can see the game starts. And that's great. Now, what I want to do lastly is actually design a nice graphic that can go here. Now, you can play around with Photoshop or paint, make your own images, or download something from the internet and modify that or whatever, or you can create your own. If I go to backgrounds, I go create background, I'm just going to call it start page, and I can edit. And you can see the size here. I can resize it to the size of the room. So resize canvas, so transform resize canvas, and I'm going to turn this off, keep aspect ratio. I'm going to do 640 by 480 because that was the size of the room. All the rooms by default are that size. I didn't play around with it. And you can see this checkout thing basically means it's for see-through. Let's choose a color. Let's choose an ugly one. I'm going to cover that. And then I'm going to choose this little draw text. Choose a color for the text, maybe this ugly color. And I'm going to click on the screen. I'm going to say Clickball. And click OK. Now, if I click on fonts over here, I'll be able to do things like choose the font I want to use. I can make it bold, and I can make it as big as I want. Okay. I'm also going to do another text here, which tells you what to do. Give me instructions. Press any key to start. And it's a bit big, so I'm going to go to the font. I'm going to shrink it down. That's nice, big enough. Tick. Click OK. And then in this room, if we go to backgrounds, I'm going to select in this foreground image area, start page. You can see here. That's what it's going to look like. So if I press play, okay, let's start, and then I click on editing, and that's the game. Lastly, well actually this should have been the first thing you do, is actually to save the game. And it will save the GMK file, which is the GameMaker style file. I'm just going to call it Clickball GMK. So you've got it saved on your computer. You can also go to File, Create Executable. What that does is it actually creates a file that you can just turn it into an executable, which you can then run on USB or anywhere, and you don't need to have GameMaker open to run it. Let me demonstrate how that works. Here's my clickball.exe game. If I double click on it, without running GameMaker at all, it will automatically open it. And there you go. The end.